This conference will now be recorded.
The Tuesday, March 7th meeting for the Airport Advisory Commission will come to order. Lisa, if you do a roll call for us.
Okay, Vice Chair Mike Espiritu,
Here.
Sean Powell, Matt McDonald,
Here.
John Hitchcock,
Here.
Chair Bud Kunkel.
Present.
You have a quorum.
So first item is approval of the agenda. Agenda's been published. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Hitchcock, would you like to do that? So moved. Second? Second. All those in favor signify so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The minutes for the February 7th meeting have also been published, and I'd like to give everybody just a minute or two to look through those and then entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 7th meeting. They were pretty extensive. We went, that was a pretty long meeting. But we had a lot of things to discuss.
Can we send, do we have the calling information for Dr. Powell for calling in?
If there are no additions or corrections to the minutes, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from February 7th meeting? So, Mr. Hitchcock, second.
Thank
you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the February 7th minutes. All those in favor signify so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we've got started. We're still trying to get Dr. Powell. Lisa may be calling in. We've just gotten him some info. So he may be calling in.
Okay.
So let's go to item number 5. Jenna, if you begin, please.
Oh, sorry.
So go ahead and go to the next one. I went ahead and put together a year-to-year comparison for the passenger boardings so that you'll be able to see last year's boarding numbers compared to this year's boarding numbers. So we've got January to be able to offset this first year, showing that we have had an increase in movement, so that's good. But we're running about 700 more in January than we were last year. So that's a good number.
That's both Dallas and Phoenix.
Combined, correct. Yeah. And if you'd like me to split those out separately, I can do a slide for each if you.
We probably need to monitor the Phoenix a little closer.
Okay.
Especially since they're gonna cut us back in about 3 months.
They did that last year as well. So it's something that they standardly have done. I did not go back to compare how many years they've done that in a row, but they did do that last year. We did lose them in the summertime as well.
Okay.
And then they roll back in August, and that's what I understand is happening.
And
Again this year.
Dale's reported August 15th.
That's my understanding. So
He'll return August 15th.
That's the tentative time.
That's pretty firm, John.
Well, you know, everything is in flux.
That's a hope.
That's the hope.
Okay.
But that's what the planners told me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we do need to split it up between Phoenix and Dallas. Please.
Can do.
Any questions of Jenna on boardings then?
So this is our overall airport operations. Again, I was able to collect the data from last year to this year, so we have them compared. I anticipate that February and March will be elevated with the Navy being here, but we did have a slight drop in January of actual total.
So it looks like about 300.
Jenna's Navy, they're gonna come in 2 more.
They'll be here till April. Yeah, their second group is here now. They just cycled out the first group and the second group has just arrived.
So can EDC have another get together for them in the next week or two?
I don't know, at first it cost me a lot. Whatever it was. Certainly do something.
Mike, you got the money.
Any questions on airport operations? Okay, next slide. This is our continuum of aircraft parking from January through December. We are sitting, I think the last report we had was 233 maybe for January, so that's kind of stayed the same. But you can see that we've had a slight decrease over the year. 100 aircraft.
But if you're at 233 in January, it looks like basically we're stable since about August.
Yes.
Does AirSail anticipate that's reasonable, it would stay stable, or you still see us going
It'll drop more.
and drop more?
Yeah, it'll drop more. By summertime, it'll be
200,
15, 20 aircraft.
so not quite 200. And the ones that are remaining out there, how many of those will be repaired and put back in the service? Half of them? Not that many.
You know, I don't know what America's plans are for the NDAs or any shuffling or the A330s that are sitting out here, a lot of those are probably beer cans and dismantle those. So I mean, I don't see a huge flux of aircraft coming in for storage right now. Unless something happens in the industry, maybe some commuter type aircraft, but none of the big guys.
So from a cash flow standpoint, it has been, we ought to be able to budget somewhere in the range of 200 aircraft.
Yeah.
Ballpark. Okay.
Y'all started on trying to inventory what's out here on the field that's not paying parking?
We haven't attempted to do that yet. I'm not sure we have a good solution for how we can do it. Having somebody physically driving chalk tires to understand, if the plane moved or didn't move. We rely on the honor system from the MROs to report whatever they have. We've had a few times where we've missed, and usually it's just a matter of transfer of ownership, and it just didn't hit our books and we catch it a month later. So sometimes Lisa will find it the next month and say, well, wait a minute, when did this plane get here? I don't know what this is, and then she'll follow back and find out when it arrived, and so we're able to catch them that way. But,
And then we'll bill back from when they did get here. Yep.
so we need to work out the logistics of that. Okay. Ready? Yep. Okay, so Mr. Hitchcock, you'd asked about the SCASDAC. We went ahead, Jennifer did the research. That grant program is only able to be used for the Denver service. So we did find that out. In the packet I handed you, the very top one page is the report from the filing of this year, and our grant is good through January 9th of 2026. We'll just keep up with our reporting as we go forward and as we engage in the future.
Mr. Chair, this is Sean Powell, and I've joined the meeting by phone.
Thank you, Dr. Powell.
Jenny, is there a danger of losing that grant if we don't get any traction or whatever we need to do? I think it expires in 26, right?
Yeah, as long as we continue to report and we show action with us working with Jeff Hart and getting those reports back from him, we are not at risk of losing.
Does that grant pay for like the contract with that meeting for their work on the airlines?
No, that grant is specifically for just engaging service from Denver, is my understanding.
Just Denver only?
Usually they would also cover marketing,
Right.
but the likelihood of having service in place to use it for that is going to get harder.
Okay.
Any other
Now,
questions
move it.
on that? Any other questions?
I don't know if pot shortage is going to be resolved in a couple of years. I mean, it's, I don't
Pretty beat up.
know what's going to happen with this, our ability to. This pot shortage is going to really continue to impact every community.
Is it being, I'd say the word?
Oh, it's so much more than.
I think it's no longer just pilots, it's these regional carriers that are shifting allegiance or in alignment with other major carriers. And that's why we lost our vehicle. That's the immediate issue, not because we're pilots. Despite what's being said on Facebook by the city council.
Okay. Go ahead, Jen.
Jennifer asked me to put this in front of you for the first time. This is an airfield lighting maintenance proposal. So this is not something that being actionable right at the moment. It's for us to start discussing about the options of utilizing it. In your packet, there is the proposal itself in detail. But what this contract will do is for 3 years, they're going to go out and they will be taking care of all of our airfield lighting. So taxiways, runways, signage, all of that will be the first year gone through, looked at, find out all of our problems. I know we've just put through to have a circuit fix, some connectivity issues we've been having. And then this, I believe, transitions into us being LED lit. So efficiency wise for the airfield is a plus. But the first year would be $180,700. And then year 2 and 3 would be $90,350 each year. So it's a significant investment. But Jennifer just wanted to have the contract in front of you or the proposal in front of you to start thinking about if this is something we'd like to do. Proactively, we do have an electrician on staff right now, but that doesn't mean that that will always be the case. So being able to have somebody that can come out and do this, and this is what they primarily do for a living, is airfield lighting, I think would be advantageous to us.
So Jen, you'd said, or someone had said previously, that we've even got wiring that's outdated and not serviceable.
Yes.
So the first year, the 180,700, if we were to do this, those kind of things would be repaired or replaced as part of that contract.
That's correct.
How do they, I mean, I guess that's okay, but how do they know what needs to be done? How can they quote this?
They came out and they actually surveyed our entire airfield before
Okay.
they submitted this. proposal.
So they've inspected the lighting system and they think this will cover what it's going to take to get our lighting back up to speed.
Yes. And then there's a side note sheet. Jennifer stated that we could possibly use funding through MAP or VIL. So there's some opportunity that way to pay for some of this.
So the year 2 and year 3 costs 90,000 plus. Would that be, do we know, would that be typical for subsequent years? Because it would seem to me like once they got everything put together, it would be maintenance as opposed to repairs.
Let me ask Jennifer that question because I don't know the answer she engaged them. So I think I would be able to ask if that's how they offset their money over the time to make money back. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we need to know the answer to that.
Okay.
Because if we load up to the tune of $360,000, well,
What's the maintenance going
yeah,
forward after the year?
that seems high to me, but it may take that, I don't know. Mr. Hitchcock.
And does that year one cover both runways or?
But it covers the whole ordeal.
I don't know how year 2 and 3 doesn't make sense.
I think
There's an immediate fix and then there's ongoing maintenance. I think that's what the difference might be. Their immediate fix has quite a bit of stuff.
But I sure think we need to know, because basically, well, all they did is they took what they thought they needed the first year, and then they split it in half. For years 2 and 3, which if they're gonna fix everything, that seems like a lot for maintenance to me.
Okay. Yeah,
Especially
we can find that out.
Especially since this indicates that if they've got parts that are gonna be due, they're gonna charge extra for that
Sure.
on top of just their work to get stuff done. So I think we need to ask that question. And then come back with.
That's perfect. And then that allows you to also look through it. Any other questions you come up with, if you can email those to myself or Jennifer, then we can address anything else you find in the contract that doesn't answer anything.
Okay.
Yeah, here's a comment that's scary. Say many of the locations have exposed sharp metal that could cause damage to them.
We have a little bit of a upkeep to do out there.
So it's years of lack of maintenance on stuff.
Have you gentlemen ever observed that?
Instead of runways.
We'll get in trouble if we got on. Just say it.
And rightly so. Yeah, considering all the near misses in airports, you're like, oh,
okay.
yeah,
This is trash.
yeah, we did. We don't need that. It is a lot of work.
That pricing doesn't include parts. They may require additional parts, which they will provide enough for those requirements.
So that's the bare minimum, and we know there's going to be parts costs, so. In the proposal that was presented, are there other entities that provide this kind of service?
That I don't know. I know they run through Sourcewell, which I know Jennifer looked at that, being how they would be contracted. So I don't know what other further research she did.
I think with the questions that we've got on this, we need to have, Jennifer, by the way, had surgery today, so she'll be out of pocket for a couple of weeks anyway. I think next meeting, we need to have additional info on what other sources are available, so that we can, and if she may have additional info on funding for this too.
Hopefully they wouldn't be coming from Columbus, Ohio. Surely they have
Yeah.
remote.
I think they came out of Albuquerque when they came down the last time. They were here for about 2 weeks. So
Is there any critical needs that have to be attended to now? Even some like things that John mentioned. Is there anything that has to be done like immediate? So we're in FAA compliance or?
we are working on that. The airfield lighting, it's coming up here, but I believe that we're on consent agenda for that first repair of damage that needs to be done before that inspection.
And J&G did that, okay. We'll get to that. other questions or Jen on this maintenance, lighting maintenance proposal? I think we've got enough questions. We need to do some more research. Okay.
Okay, so there's the update on the airfield lighting.
Okay.
And that actually, that has gone all the way through. PO has been issued and J&G is waiting parts. So I did get an update from Omar this morning regarding that. So J&G is ready to go. We're just waiting for parts to come in.
So what does that mean? Does that mean,
I'm at their mercy until the parts show up.
does that mean we're 2 weeks out or 6 months out?
It's shortly. So they didn't say there was a large lead time on that. So it's a pretty immediate fix.
Hopefully.
And before our inspection, they know that's the timeline we're
The inspection scheduled in early April?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
All right, any other questions on that? So you're going to stay in touch with working at J&G and make sure we're getting the parts in?
yes.
All right, item number 7.
So this is just an update on the passenger parking project. If you go to the next slide, I don't know if when you come in, you noticed 650 was in a rumble on the ground and should be hauled out by the end of the week and graded by Monday or Tuesday of next week. So Armstrong probably needs to know that. But so that's the very first step in the process. And I think last time there were some questions about how that project was phased, and I don't know if their answers were given on how we were doing that, or if you have any questions around Armstrong they're hearing.
So my concern on the phasing of the project, obviously this is the first thing, had to get the building demolished. But my questions on the phasing, and I think you answered it, was here's how the project was bid per request. And because it was bid in that manner, then even if we can find a more efficient way to do the project, we're not allowed to do that. That's my understanding.
Well, they probably incur more costs to go out to rebid it. The plans were developed as we were told to develop them,
Right.
you know, lot 1, lot 2, or lot 4 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
So, yeah, we would probably end up rebidding it, incur more costs. The prices we got were pretty good. There's a chance they could go up even more. We're within our budget for this project right now without the cannon.
So that was, well, we don't have lighting for it either though, do we? That was not in the original bid.
No, that was right there, yeah. But we do have, that is going to be part of the next MAP project, is to get more money to do the rest of the part.
And it's my understanding that conduit is going to be laid throughout the process.
Yes,
To run cables through for lighting,
for like.
which we know we're going to have.
Correct.
All right, and of course, that building is immediately west of the new parking lot. Any additional questions on that process? Okay, thank you, Jim. Number 8.
The update on the runway and taxiway painting is you already had recommended going forward. It did go to the board, and it didn't make the finance agenda, but will next month, and then we'll move forward from that to get it appeal in place to go and get it completed. So
And the funding for that is available also?
yes, yeah, that's something you all already had voted on doing. So I believe it was a reallocation of money within the budget.
Yeah, we didn't have money for it, but they pulled some funds from different places. Too bad we don't have Mr. Ford here today.
Excuse me, is there gonna be any closures scheduled during this painting project that we should be aware of taxiways or runways?
We'll send that out as soon as we know when that project is going to start. So I don't know, it'll be partitioned off. So I don't know if they'll be able to, there's parts of the runways, yes. There'll probably be some taxiways closed for time, but we'll work with Highway Supply on a schedule and we'll make sure the tenants are aware of when that project's going to start and what days those will be closed. Obviously, notices will be issued. But we have added certain people for notification of notices that we file. If you're not getting those notices and would like them, just let us know.
And this is scheduled to start this month or next month?
As soon as we have the PO in place, which will be next month.
So it'll be April
Yes.
before we start this.
Okay.
All right, South Hammerhead, item number 9.
This project is on the consent agenda for approval of funding for this week's city council. So as soon as that is approved, we'll put the PO in place and we will go ahead and get the contractor's PO and then we will notify once the repairs are going to start.
Remind me, isn't this in the range of 300,000 to do this?
96, I believe is what it is, and it's constructors will be doing the work.
So this is not the full-blown deal. This is just an overlay of asphalt in that area.
Yep, using our fillings as core base.
Yeah, we're gonna be using the millings that were taken off Alpha and Juliet,
Right,
and we're gonna grade it out to the FA standards.
right.
And then we're gonna put, what we were told to do is go and put, those millings on top, that way it locks it in place.
Okay. So millings on top, does that mean asphalt on top, or what does that mean? That
Asphalt
means-
millings.
That's just the
They're
raw.
gonna, it'll roll them and compact them and it'll turn into hard surface.
So what that'll do is decrease problems at the end of the runway,
Yes.
but you still can't
You can't,
run any aircraft on top of it.
no, the double yellow line is required. And that means you can't go past that. It's not usable asphalt.
So it's just a fill in to reduce damage to the end.
Correct.
Of the runway.
Right now, it was eroded and there's piping. And what we'll do is grade it out flat for the FA standards, and we'll go ahead and surface it to their standard.
Okay. All right, any other questions on that? Okay, strategic plan, RFP. We had one entity respond to the strategic plan RFP. Their response was pretty good. However, the team of us that looked at those responses at that response decided that that was not adequate for the city to go ahead and move forward on that. So we redid, we spent a bunch of time redoing the RFP. We made it more definitive. And Mr. Espiritu has agreed to ensure that there are other service providers that are going to hopefully bid on this. And that, I think, is expected to go out. Hopefully later this month. Go back out.
Service provider?
Service providers.
Ensure that there will be more providers.
Okay.
More bids.
I heard insurance.
I think what the chairman was trying to say is
We hope we get more bids.
that member of the commission will be making sure people are fully aware and apprised that it exists in no way, shape, or form giving them.
I think that's legalese for exactly what I said. So thank you. Yes,
I'm here for you.
yeah, I can tell. So are you okay with that, Mike? Okay, yeah, no insurance, don't worry about that. Yeah, I know, maybe I'm not speaking especially clearly. So any questions on the strategic plan at all? We'll move forward, hopefully we'll get it out, be out again later this month. But there was significant right. So thanks for those commission members that helped out with getting the rewrite done. Appreciate it. Okay. Cass, the security update. Give us what you can without going into.
Sure, without having to go into closed session or get you guys with the security update is this. TSA and Roswell, in negotiation, we reached a court and the legal committee will be considering it, the full council will be considering that later. It is SSI, so the full document will not be available publicly for federal regulation, but we're working with TSA to have a synopsis that is easily digestible for everyone who has an interest in this. That deals with particular security protocols and the standard locking. But if we go to the next item, this kind of implicates all the items that we're working on. Do you mind if we go to 13, Mr. Chair?
That's okay. Go out of sequence. That's typical for attorneys.
Yeah. So as you know, the county, who is represented here by a really esteemed colleague of mine, is
He's from Hagerman.
yeah, So yeah, it seems from the commissioner spoken with the manager, we had a meeting a few months back from JPA that had been on ice pending the not consent decree, but the settlement with TSA.
Right.
Once this is in place, and it will be reflected in the budget this next fiscal year, the county will be in a position to understand exactly what the city's obligations will be moving forward and how they will be a part of a newly formed authority. That you guys would be reviewing the superstructure before sending it to the city's legal committee and full council and before going to the county commission.
So
Or having the settlement? Well, I guess I just expect so it'll take kind of 2 months. Once we have the final thing on paper with TSA, we would have 2 months of discussions internally, a month of legal with city council. So, well, no, because the TSA agreement won't be signed off on. So we're looking more like September.
So the first joint meeting that we would likely have, what earliest would be May. Where the city and the county can get.
Yeah, I guess I would like you guys, this is my own preference, I'd like to have you guys, all five of you, really happy with the JPA draft, because I think both the commission and the council listen to you, be interested in what you have to say. And then we could do a first joint workshop to make sure we comply with our open meetings obligations.
So can you and I stay in touch then as to when we can have a separate get together on the JPA, probably at EDC, would that be convenient? Okay. A separate meeting that we have where we can go over what you've got.
So has the county had an opportunity to look at the draft yet?
No. And that's wanting to ask, if we do that before May, it's going to be really helpful for us to kind of plan for a budget number. I know that there's won't have any idea, but at least if we have those talks, it'll help us, because in May, we're going to approve our preliminary budget.
So the commission needs to have it in April.
I think that they will actually approve the commission on May the 18th, whatever date that is.
Yeah, I'm happy to send you what we got. In my experience, sometimes people see it and get overly excited on terms.
Well, that's why I think that sit down and kind of discuss what.
So let's the three of us get together and pick a date, possibly in late April, that we can sit down and do that.
It could be early May. Double check.
Yeah, I think speaking for the city,
May the 18th, and if we could do something. And I don't know where our finance committee is, so that might be the best, is we try to coordinate.
yes, and I'm happy to show up. I mean, I guess the easier thing is, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, if I'm speaking too much on your behalf. If the county can agree to 5-10 million per year in funding, I don't think we'll have any negotiation.
Why don't we start there?
We're reason to be greedy.
Yes,
I'll just go back to checking my email.
So the two of you get together, look at a date, three of us can get together, and we'll pick a date that the commission can get together and look at it. And you're saying that at least yourself or some of the commissioners need to be there also? Okay,
And I heard May 18th.
is a deadline.
Well, that's when our commission will approve the preliminary.
That's a deadline. We've got to do it.
So, but our finance committee will have several meetings before that. And like I said, no, we won't have a firm number or anything, but we can at least have a figure in mind.
Well, if you can firm up
Yeah.
somewhere between 5 and 10,
Oh, okay.
that's good.
Five's the minimum.
That's,
That's
and
my.
that needs to be on a half-year basis, because you're halfway through that.
They're very comfy chairs.
Okay, any additional conversation on the JPA? If not, then let's go back to the BNSF update. We just have that.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you have this in your packets. It regrettably was not put as an action item, so there won't be any voting. However, it is somewhat long and dense. And if it's all right with you, I would like, so the chair of the legal committee, who didn't show up today, shameful behavior for Mr. Horn, but he would like to hear this sooner rather than later, and I was hoping you guys could each communicate to me via email any concerns you have about this contract. We would go into closed session anyway, too.
Mr. Horn is chairman of the committee.
Oh, you're right, it was Mr. Hildebrand. Oh, I'm not,
But I mean, if you're gonna blast someone, please get it.
okay, I'm not gonna blast that, that'll get me in a little trouble.
I do have, in the contract, it speaks to track, maybe it's a requirement, a dollar figure. And so correct me if I'm wrong on this, do we have a contract with Ergon? They purchase that, but they also have to use that track. Is their track name a separate agreement with BNSF? Or is that part of ours? Because they're using the hours that we are, that's all getting the map.
Yeah.
So are in contract with Ergon, are they paying track maintenance? If so, does it cover, because they're the ones that use that track. Are they paying basically the cost of the?
No, so we will pay 3,500 to BNSF for the BNSF portion, the rest is on us, or through Ergon. So if Ergon, the way we're responsible under this contract for any breaks in the track on our side. And so, and I'm not off the top of my head immediately recall what.
So they are using our side,
Right.
to their point. So they're using our side that we're paying for the track maintenance. Shouldn't they be reimbursing us for that track maintenance fee?
They have a transfer agreement with us for the first $20,000 that they're responsible for annually.
So they're paying us $20,000 annually for track maintenance?
Mhm.
So we're making money on this deal?
Well, assuming the traffic.
Track is being maintained.
Yeah, no, so that's the one positive, and I viewed it as a positive in here was that BNSF, reserved the right to inspect our track, tell us how to fix it. Frankly, that's cheaper than hiring an expert ourselves every year, so I was kind of happy with that inclusion. But that's so, and they reserve the right to stop service if they're not happy with the quality.
So the same question applies to Colorado. So past Ergon, our track, the track belongs to the city, continues past Ergon, crosses Hobbs.
Yeah,
Hobson, and it goes into his private. Is he paying any type of track maintenance on any of that piece? Hobbs, or I'm talking about.
In the Rams, you could pull that up.
or this one.
So right here, Ergon has this, and it goes into, it continues on across.
Yeah, this is not ours.
Yeah, see this section from here? Who's responsible for the track? Is that us too? Or should that be him? That's servicing his
business. I think that's 20,000.
That's Ergon only.
I'm talking about,
Rusty Spike.
yeah, Rustic Spike. Do they have, I guess my point is, do they have an obligation or is it up to us? Because the city track, and I would suspect it would be us, but if he's not providing.
I am not aware of an agreement.
I would suspect he should.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything for us.
Did they, oh, I thought they pulled right out, but I.
No, still there. I just talked over.
Yeah, it's there. Once you go back across the road, it's there.
I
Go
don't
back
think there's an
across
agreement in
Austin.
place, but I do believe Rusty Spike takes care of that. So we've never paid a bill. for
That's-
anything
that's-
since I've been here.
That's something that needs to be defined. The other thing, based on your question, when you finish writing. Okay. It's, maybe I misunderstood, but the $20,000 a year that Ergon's going to pay is the first 20,000 of expenses
Yes.
that the city incurs. Ergon doesn't just write a check for 20,000 and send it to the city. They have to be presented with
Wouldn't
those
check
expenses.
unless there's more than 50 cars using that track, right? Who knows, right? I guess my point is I don't think it's fair for the city to encumber a financial by both entities when both entities are using that rail track. City's like, we own, excuse me, the city owns it, we own it. City owns it. That's my whole point.
Yeah.
I would suspect that both entities would have we should have a requirement to pay for a piece of that track maintenance. So not the city doesn't encumber that financial requirement by NSP and stuff. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to lose money on it.
So if Rusty Nail is not part of that agreement, which apparently it's not, there needs to be some interaction made legally. Because about the time we get a $50,000 rail repair bill, and
Or even worse,
and Ergon,
accident out there, maintenance to be done out there. I'm just,
Yeah.
Ergon's tankers,
they're in and out of there all the time. The asphalt and big ones.
Oh,
That's what they're creating. That's why we diligently try to not sell that off, because they needed the rail transport into that to be cost effective for what they're doing.
I hate to put more on your plate, but it's liability.
no, this is what I'm talking about.
But absolutely, but I'd like the rail being there because.
Well, the potential would be where those two long warehouses are going. Talk about one of those in a little while. The potential is that rail could be reinstituted further to the south beyond Ergon and utilized if that's redeveloped in that area. So, and that's problematic because Ergon can load those rails up because they're on their, well, rail isn't on their property, it's city property. But that's always problematic to get them to move stuff out of the way if we reconstitute it south. Don't know if we will.
Well, I've seen the rail cars further down on Thompson too.
Sure.
So they park rail cars on that track outside of their plant. Presence.
For Ergon Road?
Yes.
Yeah, they use that.
So the cities are risk, that is my point.
7 year.
Yeah, we may need to have some additional discussion on that, based on what everybody knows.
Well, question, when Rusty Nail, I don't know how old that spur is going to Rusty Nail. Was there any agreement made at that time for them to help maintain that?
It doesn't appear that there is.
So don't we need to approach them and ask if they want to continue to have the rail? It would be reasonable for them to help defer the expense.
I don't have any idea how much it's used, but.
Yeah, maybe they say, well, it's not used, we don't care.
The MSF is supposed to set Rusty Mills before they're getting on it.
Oh, yeah, then there's the opportunity.
It's crossing one more street, city streets.
Yeah.
So who's the right person to approach?
But Rusty Mill, I could tell, I mean, I know who to approach the MSF. Tell them we're gonna need another.
Yeah. Okay, good discussion. Thank you. All right. Unless anybody has anything else on the BNSF update, JPA, let's move on to item number 14. Jenna?
Yeah, you go to the next slide. So Louis gave me a report as of Friday, said that the project was 71% complete, and they are still on target to complete that water line by March 3rd.
Okay. That's the one east. Going to east and west. Yeah, that was missing. That's correct.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for getting that for $5 million in this project. I'm not sure where this is at, but recalling previous conversations, the state was going to reimburse us up to $4 million. We spent $3 million on this, right? It was the allocation. They're going to give us $4 million. I know you don't.
That's the note that I'm.
Okay, so we're waiting on getting something to send the state to get that $4 million reimbursed. That was part of this piece. We still need that information. I don't know if Armstrong got that or what, but they want an engineer's estimate on the cost to run that infrastructure. So we can get that $4 million from the state for LEADA money for infrastructure.
So I filled out the leaded term sheet and then wanted an estimated cost. So what I did is, we have the money, but we don't work with Armstrong. Dennis was planning to work with us directly, and I said we need to go a different route. Go into that. But anyway, so we went a different route. So Armstrong was instructed to give us a quote for from here to here, not all the way the whole project like we needed. So it just goes to where it's optimistic, but we need to figure out what it costs to go all the way down to the southeast corner where all the improvements need to be made. So when I filled out the LEADA term sheet, I extrapolated off of your estimates. Okay, 14-inch water line, this many more feet, gave them a factor. And I know that's not great, but I mean, it was something. And they said, oh no, we can't do that. It's got to come from an engineering firm that has the, and I figured you guys could do the same thing within a few minutes time, actually. You know, because it's just an estimate. And we need to be able to show that it's going to cost at least $4 million to get down to that corner. So they'll give us $4 million that's in limbo. And it's been in limbo for what, 3 years?
So, well, so you have been working this for probably a year now, so we haven't got anywhere. So
Has the city authorized you to provide this estimate?
No.
His shaking tells me that he doesn't know anything about it.
Right.
Well, the city.
You want a letter on it when the city, lawyers to send you an annual request or somebody.
See, this is county. His money went to the county.
I understand, okay, but there's only one source for us to get the estimate.
Right.
It's on city property, so it's all right.
Of course.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what's holding us up.
well, you know, because I took your estimate, I beefed it up, and he still kicked it back.
Assuming that the
Isn't
state.
that running out of time?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this current fiscal year that ends June 30th.
Yeah, so that,
Okay,
So
we could lose the whole thing if we
is
don't.
that right?
And certainly
We were
don't.
talking about this months ago.
We just need to know how far you guys want us to estimate. I don't think it's, we got it. Just tell, somebody just needs to tell us where to go. Is it all the way to the end?
So, Mr. Mayor, we need to get that.
Once you give me the drawings and give it to us,
And then he could
at least
request
get
it.
somebody to write it up.
Okay, so if the city and the county can work together, get that information to Lewis, who will get it to Armstrong, then we'll get the number, and then we don't lose the fund.
Because I just took PowerPoint, drew a red line on it, we need
Can that,
utilities to hear
can
and
that be done in the next 30 days?
tomorrow.
Well, it's just tomorrow, and I will get it to them, so they can have it, like, if we get it tomorrow, then they can have it by Friday and have it back.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, y'all might want to start working on it.
I know,
Yeah,
we're-
anticipate getting it.
I think the key is the $4 million number. How much will $4 million get us? That's what boils down to.
How far can we
But
extend?
certainly having an estimate of what it would cost to get all the utilities we need down there to improve that equipment would make it possible for us then to ask for more money. $4 million is not enough to do. So I would hate to say, well, $4 million gets you just past Mystic and so stop it there.
But there's nothing out there, there's nothing in the way. All that stuff, there's nothing out there you have to really go through. It's all straight digging,
It's easy.
and Ag Services has all the equipment. And they can dig the pipelines, they can do it all.
And this is where that, along that, between Mystic and, right, talk about that area, where the wide body hangar.
Yes, sir. So we did.
Yeah, study we did. Well, they have the study, because that's the photos that we sent. We just don't have that. We don't have that Garcia estimate.
Ag Service can do all that pipeline stuff, they've got big pressures that do all that stuff, so they don't even have to go very far, it's only about 2 miles over there.
So their setup time is pretty limited. We can get the post to do it free.
Mobilization, that's no
Yeah,
charge.
no low charges. Okay, any other, John, have you got questions?
Indirectly on this, who's the lead candidate, or do we have inquiries from that site yet? Potential tenants?
Yeah, we've got one, but I don't know if they've followed through it.
We have, I have one. Is it the same one? Okay, well, we have at least one, maybe two.
But there's not follow through. So it's still vacant.
And one thing about that site, the only thing, if some people want to put that rub hanger over there on one of those sites, and, you know, all that stuff, those sites around there can hold a B-52. I mean, we ought to put the rub hanger somewhere that's gonna, somewhere that has a concrete base for a light airplane, not a big plane. Because you can't put that, you know, the plane doesn't, the hangar's so small, it doesn't need a big plane base under it. It's my-
We spent a couple months talking about this now, and I thought we had it resolved.
So
Just don't make it screw it up.
a nice tenant might have other thoughts that need to be considered.
So we've got a hangar that's sitting, that's not used, but we really don't have a usable tenant for it right now. So maybe we could hold off on citing where the hangar goes. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know what, if you got it, if you've got a concrete pad that'll hold a DC-10, no reason, you know, to put a Super Cub hanger over it. That- you know, and that's-
It'll go off the end of it. It's not going to go over the pad.
I understand that, but you're not gonna be parking the jets and the transportation in places to put big jets, heavy jets, and places to have them. That's one of the few places you can have those that has a concrete base under it to hold them up.
for one of the tenants that has potential for use at Mystic, at the old Mystic site, had talked about using that acre. So what we need to do is attempt to find out.
Is,
So conversation needs to be held, and it likely will be determined by whether or not the potential tenant can actually use that acre.
That's good.
So that's probably a good way to approach it.
So I just wanted to see, stay prepared.
Understood.
To me, that makes sense. I don't have Kansas losses, but out here though, it's.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so we're through with water line and small hangar. Jenna, if you'd go to item number 15, update on terminal signage.
So I don't know if when you came in, you noticed we do have all of the aluminum signs up, except for the one that will go right here at the foyer. It's larger. So we wanted to make sure they had lots of practice on these before we got them up on the lift and put the other one in. So we have one more to go in, but those are all in place. In the space lounge area, the bottom left-hand corner, we have some gardener in one side of that. We have approached Sky and asked them to give us some photos to kind of mirror the look of that, and a story about Nickel on the other side. So we'll be incorporating one of our current tenants into that room to showcase. So that's where we are with that. Next slide. This is our first proposed schematic for the vinyl wall, for the selfie wall in the passenger waiting area. So we have procured the money for that between public and this PR and us to be able to put that together.
That'd be a good picture to put in the paper, Lisa.
So the only thing that will change going forward is I've asked that she takes underneath the UFO where the lights come down, putting a translucent vinyl there, and we'll have a power source to it with LED lights behind it. So that brings it more three-dimensional, but where people aren't going to be able to touch or mess with anything. So there will be a light schematic that is the second phase of that that we're working towards getting a quote for. So there'll be some blue LED lights, and if you want, I can send that to you. So, but that is our first go at Parkland.
So I want to thank Jenna and Jennifer both. Jenna's taken the lead on this when we said, why don't we have something for passengers incoming or outgoing to have some sort of deal there that their kids can get pictures with it, and they took it from there. We've included the UFO museum to assist with that, and so that's a pretty good idea. If you've got any other ideas, you need to get it to Jenna now, because this is going to get printed up and put on the wall, hopefully within the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay. So even if Airsail's got some ideas. Okay. So thank you, Jenna, for making this happen. The entire area down there is vastly improved, just with some painting and updating of logos, and this would be certainly a nice addition.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, I met with the individual that designed that airport in Manhattan, met with the designer, and I sent him information that I received from you, Jenna. He's planning a trip out here and going to give us some ideas for future thoughts on how we can move with our terminal forward. So anticipate he'll probably come out in the month of May. Just want to make you aware that I have in-person talk with him at the Air Service Conference. So he knows what our needs are, he knows what it looks like, and willing to give it a go, give us something to think about.
So So just like the Artesian Museum that moved that Peter Hurd thing from Houston truck, we need to make sure when we get a new terminal that this goes somewhere on the wall with a new terminal.
We got a trade deal we're working on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Any other questions on rebranding and what's going on downstairs? By the way, I had a cousin in from McKinney, Texas this weekend, and she texted me as she was going out at noon today and said she really appreciated that the bathrooms in the holding area were nice, new, and clean. So I thought that was a nice compliment. So good to the cleaning crew. Any other questions on this? Okay, now for the meat of what this meeting is all about. Starting with item number 16, we have not really had time to address vacant properties here at the Air Center. Certainly not. You want to put that up here, Mr. Attorney? We haven't had time to really give much thought to this. I've been around and looked at some of the properties, not all of them, but I'm reasonably familiar with most of them. And my goal on talking about this is not to have precise information of what it's going to cost to get them back into operation, but to acquaint the commission with, we've got properties that haven't been leased. Here's what we have to do to get them so that they can be leased, and develop a plan to go make that happen, because this is income to the city. It's not coming in. So Jenna, if you would start and tell us where to go in our.
I don't have anything in the packet, the spreadsheet, there's expense and receipts report for Eileen. That I'll be going over with you later, but so if you want to go to the next slide. Building 93, I've shown that building 3 times in the last year. It is one that has more interest than any of the other vacant buildings that we have. So Bud and I met out there last week. We had a client come in and look at it, and you know, they had a couple of questions about it, and actually saw them in downstairs when they were getting ready to leave. And they said, really, we're really interested in that building, but it's not exactly move-in ready. Like if it was ready today, I would have been ready to move forward. So Bud and I went out to the building. We wanted to look at it and kind of understand how we can make this more marketable, what it will cost us to get this up and ready. So the office area used to have a split unit in it. It doesn't have anything in it right now. The gas had been shut off to it and the unit was not working. So when we redid the roof, we removed that package unit from the roof with anticipation of having to probably run a new gas line, et cetera, to it. The gas line was vacated at some point. So we'll probably have to get a new gas line running into there for that. So that's something that would need to be addressed. There's no air conditioning in the warehouse area. There is infrared gas tube heating above, but nothing else in the warehouse area. There is a perimeter fence that starts on the left-hand side of the building and wraps around. It's not completely encased, but there was a tree growing through the fence. We've removed all the landscaping or clearscaped it, but we're going to have to do a land repair to the fence. That's something that I spoke to Omar about this week, and we have some supplies. He feels comfortable that they should be able to fix that. So they're going to move forward with getting the fence repaired on that side, and they need to put back on. So that is good. They were out this week. They sprayed all the weeds in the parking lot, and then they had a weed eat the whole entire thing, and then they blew the sidewalks off into the street. They're going to take the brush room out and get the parking lot cleaned up as well. The bathrooms, there are 2 sets of bathrooms. One set is singular use in the office area, and then these have the lower left-hand corner is a picture of the studs that are exposed from the multi-person bathrooms that were in there. We had to do some remediation of mold when we took the building back over about mid-June. June or July, we found that there was some stuff we had to deal with. So to abate it or to mitigate it, we went ahead and just removed the drywall, removed everything that was causing that problem in the ceiling tiles and et cetera. And then we went ahead and have left it that way until we were ready to either move forward or have a tenant that's willing to kind of work on how to make that work.
Was that a result of roof leaks or?
There was
Plumbing leaks?
a plumbing loss in the bathroom that had happened. And probably dormant, it had gotten real warm in the building. And we had the organic organism of the M word that came forward. So looking at putting that ADA bathroom back, we're looking at about $25,000 on the high end. Like, you know, I'm asking for a ballpark from a contractor, so it may be a little bit less than that, but I went ahead and just counted it as to what would be the worst case scenario. So about $25,000 to put those bathrooms back in. The exterior paint job will require a metal etching primer so it doesn't peel, so it's a 2-coat system, and that's going to cost around $36,000 to paint that building. The flooring in the office area is, we took it out of there. I'm not sure if we want to go back with that. I feel I'll leave that up to the prospective tenant. This is what they want to do. They may not even necessarily want all of that office space. Those walls are not permanent, they're not structural. So they can maneuver those walls however they need to based on their need. And the only other thing that I've heard, so 2 out of the 3 prospective clients that I have shipped this building to have asked about the warehouse area itself and wanted to know, can that center section, which I have a picture of on the right-hand side, that's in the back of the warehouse, right in the middle is this space. So I'm not sure. It's not structural. It was built by the cookie factory to be in there for part of their system. But most people want that space to be vacated without having that clean room right in the middle.
So it's a room.
It's a room, yeah, a room. There is pneumatics in this building, so those can probably be reinstated. If there's tooling or anything like that, manufacturing wise, that can probably be put back to use. But yes, I kind of want to discuss the current layout since we've had 2 of the 3 people I showed it to say, can we move this? Does this have to be here? You know, maybe that open warehouse space is a better idea.
So what Jen has done is provide us a verbal, we've got some information on cost, certainly don't have everything that we need. And one of the things that she's going to work on out here with the crew that she's got available, just the front presentation of this was pretty rough just because of weeds and apparent lack of care. And so that's something that we can certainly address. Parking lot weeds can be addressed. The mayor has suggested that before we try to lease this, that we get the bathrooms in operational condition. There are 2 bathrooms that are in there separate from these bathrooms. We've got the picture of that are functional, but they're office bathrooms. This would be for warehouse and multiple people use. So if we can get some funding, we get those bathrooms put back in place, walls in place, functional. I think that would be something that we certainly need to encourage maintenance, airfield, and finance to fund to get that done. The other things that are on the list, like painting exterior and things like that, we probably want to hold off on. And it's possible, just as has been suggested, that if we get a tenant in there, we do some abatement of rent if we desire to do that, to get them if they want to pay for that. The tenants, the potential tenants, like that we've got, are looking to a long-term lease. So I think we've got a lot of flexibility in how we do that. But this building isn't ideally suited. You guys had stuff in there. It's not ideally suited for warehouse space because it's not, the ceiling height is not very tall. I think ceiling height, did we check, is it 16 feet?
It's 18 now.
Okay, 16, maybe 18 feet below the trusses that are in there. So that's really not a tall warehouse type facility by today's standards. But this is one that if we've had 3 people showing interest over the last 6 months, we need to at a minimum get this fixed up so we get some money in there.
Well, is the minimum getting the restrooms finished?
Yes.
So it's pretty closer to occupancy.
I think it can be usable in that condition if we have restrooms finished. Now, it's not ideal because again, we don't have HVAC. We got heat in the warehouse portion, but no HVAC in there.
Should we send it forward to finance with that request at some point?
Yeah, if you send a check. Did they save all the commodes and all the,
They weren't the right height. They said the urinals.
shower stalls or the bathroom stalls, all that, they saved all that?
Everything's going, you got studs. That's what you see right there. There's the urinal. And it's not, and I don't think we know if we may have to even move to make it handicap accessible. If we need to.
Can't do anything this time.
Yeah. So we may have to move locations of toilets and things like that. We don't know that right now. So any additional discussion on this? Because I think this is one that's obviously in demand and we need to get stuff fixed up so we can get a tenant in there and start to pay rent.
Well, I'd be willing to suggest moving it forward to finance to see, if not this year, next 6 years, budget, so we can get it ready with it.
Well, to get money from the legislature, I don't think they'll get 300 million, but, there's a possibility, they might put, 150 in
Million or thousand?
it. Man, I hope.
That's
Otherwise, we won't have enough.
That's a big go.
Mr. Chairman, I propose that we send this to finance at the next meeting for your consideration. I mean, if we wait till next year's budget cycle, then we're.
Well, budget's gonna be real tight this year too.
Those are the asks.
So I need to bring it with more information specifically to the bathrooms for next meeting to have an actionable item to send it to finance. So what we need to do.
I think that's what we need to do. We can't vote on anything today. But yeah, we need to have it as an action item
With
for next meeting
actual costs.
with as good a cost structure as we can get to provide that to finance and move forward on it.
If somebody really wants it, to lease abatement for whatever improvements they put in themselves.
And we don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, frankly, it's cheaper that way for them and us.
Well, it is, but so what, okay, with what you just said is the city not money ahead? I know it costs us, but is the city not money ahead to at least get the bathroom in operational condition so that we know that it's done the way it needs to be done.
If we're doing more than $50,000 worth of work, scale wages applies. Not yet.
Okay, so far, this doesn't appear that we're going to do more than 50,000.
Yeah, then we're probably, like I said, unless somebody wants to come in next month, I'd rather.
And I agree, we could work that out through a contract with them if that's the case. But in the interim, lacking that.
Yeah, so long as it's under 50K, we're at.
Okay.
Or maybe we get a job for it.
Good challenge.
Youth ship, okay. Gotta get the roof fixed first. Oh, no. Oh, the roof on this is good. Yeah, the roof on this is good.
Is there room next to that building for 100,000 square foot?
Yes. Yeah. There's plenty of room south of that for an additional structure.
Which is weird.
We'll probably have to remove the fence. Okay. All right. Any additional discussion on building 93? Okay, building 1081, that's the big tall office building.
Yes, so I have embarked on the initial cleaning and debris removal, carpet removal of the east side of this building. Ceiling tiles that are damaged or bad have been removed. There's lights in the building that need to be repaired. I didn't know if we wanted to, look at converting those lights to LED. It's a very large building, so that might be something we want to talk about in the future. We are getting some of the roof repaired with our hail plane that is in works right now. So there will be partial of that roof that's repaired. I don't think it is the entire roof by the square footage being looked at. So the fire suppression system, an inspection is due on it. There are repairs needed to the fire suppression system, primarily heads that'll need to be replaced. And then the fire panel will need to be updated. It's probably obsolete, so we'll probably run into the same thing that we had with ILEA, where you can't fix it anymore. It's been in there for so long, so I'm anticipating that. That has not been confirmed yet. There are unconnected ductwork within the ceilings of the HVAC systems. From what we can tell so far, there are 21 units on this building, and all of them need to be replaced or repaired. So that to me was the largest impact of needing to get that building moving ready.
So from the standpoint of this building being functionally usable by someone, it sounds like much beyond cleaning the thing out right now. We certainly don't have any funds to do much else to this building.
Fire suppression system?
Well, the whole system may not have to be repaired, but there will be repairs.
We can get the hail damage done right off insurance. We filed a claim for the hail damage.
Yeah, and it is. That's one of the roofs that will be done before the end of this fiscal year.
Is this a rubber membrane roof or
Yes.
metal roof? Rubber membrane?
Yes.
So based on just initial inquiry on this, I'm not sure we can have Jenna do much more than get the thing cleaned up.
Can we get cost estimates so we know how much money we're talking about in the future to kind of have a planning number? But right now, we don't know what's going to cost us. We know it needs work, but we don't know what that means as far as expense.
So those cost estimates would be, we'd have to use 2 or 3 different contractors.
Yeah, I anticipate the fire suppression system inspection to be done because we don't want to lose that staying maintained. So at that point, I will have whatever repairs are needed once they come out and do the inspection. So at minimum, I'll go ahead and get the fire suppression inspected. And then, yeah, we'll need to do a fire panel, have that looked at, get an estimate for that, HVAC, at that point. And then we can count, we do have the electrician on staff, so if we decide to use him for repairing the lighting, then we can do that as well.
Even with that, the lights themselves, the fixtures themselves, we're talking a ton of money.
Yeah. If we don't do a conversion and just fix the ones that are broken, it would be a lot less. We can kind of look at what that, we can get an estimate about supplies.
What does anybody think about that? I'm not sure.
Well, if we do a conversion, there's programs with ClearSpace themselves, and they'll help with some of those costs. So let's not forget about it, because they do that for companies, and they'll do it for cities too. So.
So before we spend a bunch of time and effort even with your electrician, let's get some costs into it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then report back on more accurate costs of this next month. The HVAC course would be incredibly expensive. Can't believe it's 21 units.
Question for you, if you're replacing the roof, so you're probably replacing the roof first. That means you're gonna be removing the HVAC units, then you're gonna put the units that are not functional back up there. It seems like, but I don't know, I mean, that's not asking for an answer, I'm just saying something to consider.
From the standpoint of what Mr. Williams just said, we'd be better off putting the curbs up with the new roof, but the cap on that, as opposed to putting the units back up.
Your money ahead.
That's what we did.
But you might have to have minimal heating and cooling in the event you don't get that reasons for it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, some of it is just the air conditioning side is not working. The heat side is working, so you don't want to take out the heat.
However, if there's that many units on that building, I know it's a big building, but I can't hardly believe that units today, we need 21 units, and I don't know the answer to that. But I think that the efficiency of we may not need as many roof penetrations for that number of units that on the roof. So before we move much further on that, other than just it's all broken, it may cost this much. We need to have somebody looking at it, especially from the HVAC standpoint.
So if you reduce if you put bigger units up there, you're gonna have to also check the support of the bigger units, and you're also gonna have to redo your ductwork.
Yeah.
The chances are a unit the same size will be more efficient and do more based on the current.
Yeah, it's hard to understand why they ductwork isn't. Isn't connected.
Yeah.
When did that?
Well, that building really hasn't been used for very much for 15 years. Maybe. Which is why we're going through this process.
Sure.
So, okay, any other questions on any of the ones? Jen, I think we've got a bunch of stuff we need. We don't have answers.
Keep going forward. This is 1166, the old Mystic building. This is due for a roof replacement. It is going to require that coming forward. So we knew that, we were aware of that. We knew we were going to have to do that in the next year or so. The perimeter drainage has draining that ties all the way down to the footers of that building. So the pipes go down into the dirt, and then there's a drain system away from that. I do know we had gone in the last year and had to do some water and come back into the building. So there was flooding in the building because the drainage wasn't working properly. What we did is cut the pipes at the level of the ground, so it'll run away from the building instead of going down to those footers, just not causing the damage to the foundation of the building. But we'll have to address that. We need to go in and go ahead and maintain and repair the HVAC. The air handler is working. Everything seems to be, it works. It's been working fine, but we do need to get the maintenance done on it. And then if anything comes of that maintenance, sometimes I think they're working fine, and then the maintenance goes, and then they go, no, this and this is working. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know. So that's why we have that done. The carpets will need to be cleaned in the building, and then just a more thorough landscaping of weed removal, just cleaning up instead of just our quick mows that we do to maintain the weeds being a certain height, or grass a certain height. It needs to be a little cleaner.
So this building is mostly office space.
Yeah, it can be used as office space or living quarters and then downstairs if you chose to do that.
And the perimeter drainage where you cut it, does that actually keep away from the footers?
Yes.
Just dump out adjoining the footers?
Everything that we cut slopes away from the building, so it's draining away, is going into the parking lot perimeter there. So that's why I said we wouldn't want to just leave it the way that it is. We'll have to look at it. It's not really bad when it rains bad, but, you don't want to be irrigating mud along the sides either.
No,
so.
what you can't do with soils is have it draining immediately adjoining the foundation.
Right, it's not doing that. It's going away from it. So.
Okay, so and we don't have any cost assigned to any of this yet.
I have an older roof replacement bid that I believe I got in last September that I can go ahead and re-engage that contractor to find out what it would be to date. Materials went up in January, so I know there's going to be a change in cost.
So if we need a roof replacement, how much damage is there to the inside?
No, we've been able to maintain that. It's the roof replacement is we're ahead of the game on this one, where we know it's starting to happen and we don't want to wait till we have to.
And there's no insurance on it for this.
No.
It's more money, doesn't matter.
Well, our insurance bill went from 1.2 million to 3.6 million for buildings and insurance inside the city, not necessarily including the airport. The airport is probably going to double as well because of, some of the wind damage by people's airplanes starting up and blowing things back.
All right. Thank you. All right, this is the long Dock High Warehouse building. I think it's the lower one on this picture, right?
Yeah.
It's not the upper.
No, it's the upper one.
It's the upper one?
Yeah.
Okay.
The two tones, right?
So that's turned backwards from the way it is on the ground. So the railroad spur comes in from the left side of this or the north side, is that?
No, the right,
Okay,
right through the middle.
all right. I thought it was the lower building, but that's fine. So this building, we had 3 tenants in it. The city moved the 3 tenants out because of mold in the building. And since then, we've had Jenna do some inspections, and Peter, why don't you go ahead and tell us what we found out?
Okay, so having the facilities director look at the building, having the safety inspector look at the building for the city, and then also having a contractor go in. We went to kind of determine if it's better to restore this building or if it's better to demolition it. What we discovered is for the close to $3 million it would cost us to gut this and remediate it, not necessarily put it back, just get it to where we're ready to do the remodel inside. We can demolition the building and put 4 10,000 square foot warehouses in its place with bathroom, but it did not include temperature control. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're looking at trying to get this as one of our projects budgeted for next year to be able to do the demolition. The demolition is $315,500. But we do not have an official inspection of asbestos as well. So we know we're going to look into that. We've asked Brandon to go in and kind of give us an assessment of that, but we'll have to hire somebody to go test. The things that they're concerned about are the insulation that are in the ceiling. If there is the full hole inside the CMU, those are where we're going to have to look and find out how far that is and to what extent. So.
So the 315 is not a total cost.
Correct. So I will attempt to get a quote from the testing facility and find out how much it's going to cost us to even test for that. And then we'll go forward from there once we, I mean, ultimately it's like diagnosing something. We don't know until we know.
So let me ask Armstrong, does what Jenna has found out, does that make sense to y'all as far as use of that building? Does it sound reasonable that to go in and remediate what's in there would be $3+ million on a CMU block building? Any ideas?
Yeah, because I recall we discussed that.
We did.
And last month.
We did.
And agreed that that's totally corrupt.
But we didn't ask anybody besides Brandon.
Yeah.
So you really don't have any background or knowledge to make it a
I want
formal
to say,
opinion.
definitely no, sir.
Right.
We're civil engineers, we go this way.
Yeah.
As far as that goes though, the mold in the CMU, that's over. Because once it gets in the CMU and the concrete, you're not gonna get that out. And it'll just reproduce with any moisture and it'll be back in the same thing.
Okay. Well, the 315 is obviously not inexpensive. If the building can't ever be used, then it needs to be removed. What we don't have though is any way to spend money to put 4 10,000 square foot buildings up there.
Mm-hmm.
And they likely wouldn't be dock-high buildings either. It'd probably be ground level buildings. But that would be a good place to put some buildings if they were needed for back shops or something.
Does that building have access to that spur?
It does. The rail spur goes down between those two buildings.
Well, it's
The
between them.
rail spur's there, but it's not functional.
No, it's called the Yankton Road. You pull out of those.
I have been on that road 6 months.
I don't think it's pulled out.
I think it's still in the road, but I don't know that it extends. I haven't walked that.
We don't have anybody in that now, right? They're all moved out.
Y'all moved out, Chris?
We are, it's easier if I can just point at this drawing. So this, the white area we're out of up there.
Yep.
We've got a little, this is not our space here. We've got a little area here that we're moving out of right now. We're about, I don't know, 75% out of here, all the way out of here. And we've got some stuff in this yard that we need to move over to the yard in 240.
Well, I don't think the building's going to be down next month.
No.
We probably need to.
But let's spend a little time because we don't have warehouse space to put that stock in, so we've had to rely on 40 truckloads of stock going to Memphis.
Wow.
So logistics has been, yeah, it's pretty
You
costly.
guys know where this building is.
But they are,
Make us a deal, we'll keep it.
Yeah.
you can knock that down and put the road hanger there.
So,
There you go.
yeah. So you still have some stuff in it. Didn't Guy Tipton have some stuff in there?
Nemex Plastics is out, whatever is
They've
left.
got
is
everything
dead.
out.
You can-
What about, what about?
The veg is out except for there is force trailer, I believe, on the outside and some containers. And
I think this container's on the dock at chemical.
yeah, that's their veterinary
Yeah,
stuff, so.
So can you get in touch with Matt Cunningham?
Yeah.
To make that decision, right? Because
Yes, I can.
once summertime starts, he's usually busier. So let's see if we can do that. And you all think you can get most of yours out in the next 60 days or so?
Yeah, we're just having to shuffle, we're like, I don't know if you noticed, but in yard 240, we're trying to consolidate that down a little bit, put like items together, make it easier on us to pull parts out, for the new guys especially. And then we're trying to make room for the stuff in there, but we'll end up scrapping some of the stuff in the yard. But, you know, as soon as we throw it away, someone's gonna want it. So that's why we've been kind of dragging our feet a little bit.
Well, Mr. Mike, why are we in a hurry? We don't have the money to do this. We don't have the money to build these buildings. Why are we in a hurry to keep?
Well, it's gonna be a suggestion of mine.
You know, I mean, unless
No, we're not
we want
sure.
to.
No, we can't use the building. I can't. Well, this was really just a byproduct because we needed the roof fixed.
Right.
Are we opposed to leasing the entire yard to us now that the other tenants are not allowed in the building, but the yard is still available and fenced in? That was part of the reason I came today.
I would think that would be something that we would want to look at.
Kind of like the lease we did for the yard adjacent to building 240 a couple of years back. It was an addendum to whatever the lease was for the
So
building.
you wouldn't have it over something. Right, that was fine.
We're accumulating more items, and we're still doing tear downs here. It doesn't make sense to ship us a brother to Memphis for $3,000 when I can stick it in the yard here.
If you could put it in the yard and pay us some rent for the yard, I think that'd be
It's
probably a pretty good deal.
That was the main reason.
Yeah, please. I wondered why you were here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
urge you to ask her to work with the property manager.
Make it an offer.
9 cents.
You know, it's a
Well,
lot more expensive to rent that space in Memphis than it is here.
You're
So
absolutely right.
look up the
So
Actually,
the
the rent for the warehouse that we have in Memphis is pretty commensurate to what we were proposed on a new lease a couple of years ago. Not of this form necessarily, but yeah, it's a newer warehouse. Either way.
I'll bet there's something can be
We've
worked
got the
out.
lease for the land on building 240, which was recent. And I think there were no improvements that we asked for on the yard 240 area, and we fixed the fence as needed, which kind of was part of the negotiation for the price per square foot annually.
That's,
You know, if we did that deal that Charlie was telling me about, having the hangar that he wanted here, we can do that, we might just throw it in that space. You know, but if we can get a good deal like Charlie was saying about, but it's for 2 or 3 hangars per month.
Yeah, it makes more sense to put that there than like you were saying on a hardened aircraft area that you could use for other
You
expansion.
might communicate with that stuff with you.
okay, sounds to me like we can work it out. Okay. Jenna? Go ahead.
All right. We have 2 spaces available in the T hangars. This is just a preliminary discussion, just talking about the future of the T hangars, where they're located, and how we want to move forward with general aviation, smaller craft. Right now, those T hangars are in desperate need of rubber seals around the doors. That's their main pressing issue. The railings are all working fine, the hangar doors are working fine. They may look at converting to LED. Utilities are included when we rent those out, so it would be helpful to the city to be able to get a more efficient light system in the building. And the only other proposed that we can put in, spraying some foam interior walls to keep the dirt out. They are not temperature controlled. That helps with that situation as well, and it will increase the length of life for that for probably up to 10 years, as long as we keep working the wheels, the rails, and the structure is not in horrible repair. Just the location's not the best. It's some rack space that can be used for other things, but we're so limited on what we offer. I'm not sure how that growth is going to look going forward.
What kind of demand have you had for additional hangar space for small aircraft?
We have a waiting years and years and years, and because we never grew in that way, that has diminished. It's no longer a waiting list, and now we're down 2 aircraft left. I anticipate that there will probably be another aircraft leaving that T hangar next year.
Okay.
So, Jen, I'm sorry to interrupt. So what was the cost of the rental for the T hangars that you have available for the general aviation small aircraft?
They're between $225 and $280 a month, depending on square footage.
Thank you.
So what I hear you saying is probably right now, not necessarily, especially because of funding, not do anything to these.
Correct.
Do we know what the rubber hanger door seals will cost us to replace?
So that's the most inexpensive thing to do. I can get that. I know Aflac has also come forward and asked for that to be done. I mean, those are hanger doors. They fall on our maintenance, and so we'll be getting some bids for that as well.
That is a minimum ought to be done, because the city hadn't touched those since they were erected.
Right.
So I can get bid and find out what that's going to cost, and we can either look at putting that into our next year's budget or bring it forward, and you guys can decide what we should.
Yeah, the lighting, especially if we get any kind of rebate from Excel, probably ought to look at that. I wouldn't mess with getting anything of spraying the interior walls just now.
That's what that direction from up with.
Any other questions or comments on the e-hangers?
No, but if you spray the walls, damn things should stay a lot better in the wind.
The dirt wouldn't get in there as bad.
Dirt, some ice, and everything else. That, when you spray that foam, it holds those things together. I mean, it really firms up those buildings.
Oh, it would be a cost estimate, so we know kind of get a ballpark of what we're doing for the future. When Mary gets us $51 million career center.
Don't laugh over there, guys.
Even if you just started doing it a little bit, because having to move everything out.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Now we can do it.
Okay, let's move on to number 17.
Okay, so I just wanted to give a briefing on where we're at with ILEA and the expenses, projects, how this is going since we have taken over in September for operations and then projects that are tied to it. I did put a spreadsheet in your packet that's explaining to you what we've paid out already, which is column 1, what we have open to pay in the next year through July, and then the money that we've received, and then our accounts receivable that I have billed for and have not received yet. So if you want to go to the next slide. So you can see to date, we've paid out of our accounts $383,923.80. We've received $552,397.35. I'm sorry, that's our accounts payable for the rest of the year. I didn't put the utilities in. That's why on your spreadsheet it says to be determined, because I don't know what those will be. I don't have record of that yet. So that'll be a little bit higher. What it does include is our janitorial expenses, because I have that information. The remainder of the Honeywell life safety system, the remainder of the Honeywell HVAC contract. There is a line item that has not been through finance yet, but we are looking to rent a chiller. Our chiller lead time for this project wound up being 39 weeks for us to get it. We are stopping ILEA from operations by not having the appropriate HVAC in. So we came up with a solution of being able to do a chiller rental for March to September. We haven't moved on that yet. I just got these figures, and we'll have to discuss that within finance committee and then city council to approve that amount. So that's not a firmed amount, but it is something that I wanted to make sure you were aware of.
And Mr. Chairman, I can add that. Legal has already talked with finance, and because of TSA and another one of our air sales, you're not winding down.
Yes, it is.
But one of our litigations winding down, legal can absorb the rest of the fiscal year's funds that the airport was going to be paying out. So the airport has 40K that they can put to this, which will cover them for the remainder of the fiscal. So there doesn't have to be a financial bridge. And I've spoken with the chair of finance and manager, and we're going to have this ratified so that we can get to work on it.
Perfect.
And Vicki should have given you did you get
We
the?
talked yesterday, yes.
Okay, Vicki should have given you the amended contract. And it should be in your inbox as well.
Okay.
So that actually means that ILEA can start this once the chiller gets in,
Yes.
at least chiller gets in, and they can start classes again by,
Their classes are scheduled to start, delegates arrive April 18th. So they're contingent on us getting this done. Something I do want to bring forward is that ILEA has already booked hotels and all of those things that come into the city. So there's a large cost involved for the city for that not to go forward, which I'm sure that's why the decision was made to move this along.
Yeah.
so all of these repairs are being funded through upfront cash flow from the feds to the State Department to cover this stuff, right?
Correct. They gave us the first year's worth of grant, $453,350 for April to April. So that becomes in effect April 1 to April 1 of next year. That's paying rent and operations upfront.
So we've spent next year's income already.
Yes.
Plus another 83 for that.
The accounts receivable portion is the operational expenses that we have billed for the quarters that we've been paying for now. So the fourth quarter of 2022 and the first quarter of 2023, operational expenses we are being reimbursed for. So at $9.50 a square foot. So that's what these two numbers are.
Accounts payable means to me we've got that much more work to do.
We do. And that does not include our utilities in there. That's a variation that I didn't put.
So it'll take 3 years worth of rent to even get this thing back up to speed. For almost 3 years.
Catch that.
And it's way we got it, man. Oh, look at us. We're buddy.
But that includes electricity.
I know you were close.
Sure. So within, when you say April to April, so you're saying 43, 4 by the June or July of 2025, unless we have a major problem again, we ought to actually be getting some $9.50 a foot rent that can go into the airport income.
That's correct. The only other item that we have is the roof. The roof replacement is not in here. We're supposed to do that within 2 years.
And that's not on the insurance.
No, that's one of the projects we inherited. With the insurance.
So we're not even 2.5 years. So
That's for repair.
That's not replacement. It's just a repair.
That's the bias.
So 2.5 years of rent income is gas.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I want to keep this going so that we'll start seeing when we're turning the corner. So reporting the expenses to me is important to let you all know, and of course I will let finance know as well, so we're sitting.
Okay,
My term is up at 96. It should be somewhat marginal, about 96. So we'll be, so I won't leave it the way I found it.
thank you. Thank you. Any, one other thing, you were gonna give me some numbers.
I will have it for your,
I can't really talk about it if we didn't talk about it here.
That would be a short meeting then. I don't think anybody else got it.
So.
No, I'm good.
So I'm going to make sure we do that for the next meeting.
You'll have it before this week.
Okay. Any additional questions on the Hialeah project? Those are called sunk costs, just in case anybody didn't know. All right, Jenna, thanks for putting together all this info. I think we've got a little bit better understanding of this. You can, by next meeting, if you can get us some more cost info of these various buildings, so that we can give a little better direction, maybe on where we want to go as far as depending on the funds that are available from the state. That can tell us a lot in what we need to do to prepare for potential tenants on these buildings. Any questions or suggestions? We've got one more item. Questions or suggestions from the commission on what we've been through here on the building? I don't think we've ever done this before. So we will have a plan before you get out of here, Mr. Mayor. All right, last item on the agenda, report on baggage area, New Mexico True Campaign.
So we have got the baggage area up and running. Carlsbad, Ruidoso, and Roswell are on there. I have reached out to Haley and Artesia to go ahead. They don't have a New Mexico True Campaign, but they are one of our sister cities, so I just want to make sure that we go ahead and get their, whatever video I can get of theirs covered as well. We are putting up anything that has to do with the events at the convention center that are internal, so we can promote the convention center activities. Then the UFO festival is already on that screen as well. Save the date, getting people that are coming into Roswell to see when that will be. Kind of exciting for the festival.
Do we need to get anything from Los Taos County EDC on there, right?
Not necessarily for this. No. I think what they're doing is good. I do want to add though, this September, we're having an international conference here in Roswell for the first time. We have people from all over the world will come here and they'll be coming to our airport, renting cars, staying in hotels, blah, blah, blah. So whatever we do down there is going to be really important because of that group will be at least 7, if not a couple more site selectors who helps make location decisions or recommendations to companies to locate. So it's kind of a big deal that it's happening here at our convention center, but more importantly, they come to Roswell for about 4. They'll be here for 4 or 5 days, consultants will. So that's gonna be a big part of it, because that's gonna be their first impression to Ross.
So it's a good thing we're working on it now.
Let's look at that, and then, Mike, we do offer banners to DECOM. So if you have something that, welcoming them to Roswell, we can work on that.
Is there a fee?
Yes.
A square foot?
I bet we could,
Figure something out.
I bet we could work on the fee situation. Especially for something that's as important as coming in here like that.
It's called site-in form. Site-in form.
Okay. All right, those are all of the items that we had listed to be discussed. Does any of the commission members have anything additionally that they would like to discuss? Yes, Mr. Scott.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to have airport staff to bring a plan to us next month on how they can migrate from their back office accounting system to get on the Taylor system. I think that's what it's called, that the city utilizes. So we can see, and they will have available to themselves past due accounts, statements that they can provide companies with that they can't do. And they'll be able to see expenses that I don't know that they see right now. I just received the last quarter's actuals that I had intended to come by and visit with you about, but y'all are shorthanded as it is, and they need some time, but I really think they need to be on it by June 30th, so we can have a full year in 2024 of good, solid information.
Is that something that Jennifer probably needs to be working on?
Well, I don't know who runs QuickBooks. I think you're the ideal person to get into that with Jenna's assistance on what's outstanding, but, it's going to take an effort by everyone probably to understand it and get it comfortable.
I think that's really important, especially as we move forward with GPA.
Oh,
Our partners with the county, that everyone knows what the pictures, when we talk about funding from our partners, that everyone understands what the funds
yes.
currency is.
Mr. Mayor has his hand up.
Go ahead.
It's, that system works somewhat, but there are a lot of quirks in that system. I mean, we can't even print a list of people whose business licenses expire at the end of the year and send them a bill through that system. So there are quirks, and I inherited that too, but I mean, it's not, it might not be everything that you think it is, so be real careful.
But it's better than what.
It's better than what you
I
have.
think the county has mastered it. They might be able to help.
Do they have the same system?
They have the most.
It's a tape, is it called Tyler or Taylor? Well, they have Tyler that may be a different flavor.
Yeah, their flavor is the most up to date.
So theirs is a Cadillac and we still have the Volkswagen.
I'd be closer to a Pinto.
Oh, good God.
That's given that it works out. That's given that it works out. It's hard, it goes down a lot, so I think if you come and see me, we can show you some reports that we do have a QuickBooks, it's just never been requested. The difference between us and them is they're getting what's being received and we're sending out what's due. So sometimes just because it's due doesn't mean it's received, so the months don't correspond per se.
But what's recorded on the city's books is cash.
Right.
Collections. And ultimately, they've got to know what's outstanding.
Right. Yeah.
So that's,
We
you're
do.
correct, but that's where we need to get to.
Right.
Okay, noted. Mr. Spiritu.
No, that's right.
Anybody else? Dr. Powell?
Nothing else, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and did Matt, he's gone? Okay, anyone from the gathering of people that are here to help us conduct business tonight? Thanks for bringing that up. We'll see if we can't get something worked out on a per square foot basis for your yard.
And be sure to check that lease rate.
Thanks. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay. The chair would entertain a motion to.
So moved.
There you go. Moved and seconded. Meeting is adjourned.
Y'all have a good afternoon. Thank you.
All in favor, signify so by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
The mayor and Alfred again, don't parking spaces